Hi, I'm Elisa Wood, the editor-in-chief of Microgrid Knowledge, and I have the great pleasure of being here today with Asim Hussain from Bloom Energy. Asim is the Vice President of Commercial Strategy and Customer Experience. He's going to talk to us a little bit about Bloom and about the evolution of the company and the technology and some ways, some special ways that this company and microgrids are serving society today. So welcome, Asim. It's very nice to have you here today at Microgrid 2020 Global.
Thank you, Lisa. It's great to be here. I know it's different this year, but still very exciting.
One thing I'd like to learn a little bit more about is the evolution of Bloom and of fuel cell technology. Can you give us a little insight into that?
Bloom is a solid oxide fuel cell technology. So we make a stationary system that essentially takes as an input a hydrocarbon fuel, typically natural gas, and can also accommodate biogas, and then converts that into electricity at a really high efficiency using an electrochemical reaction. The example I love to give people is that just like cellular respiration, we breathe in air and we get hydrocarbons from our food, but we don't combust. So we're mimicking the most natural reaction, doing that at a very high efficiency, such that we are A, not polluting the air with our system in any way when it's functioning, and then B, reducing greenhouse gas emissions due to that efficiency. And the first aspect of the technology was just getting it to market, which happened in the 2010 timeframe for Bloom. And then since then, we've been deploying Bloom Energy servers, which are a combination of these fuel cells in a 200 kilowatt, 250, 300 kilowatt building block that can be deployed at customer sites. And we started doing that in 2010. And I can proudly say I was the first product manager on the microgrid product that we worked on. And we deployed the first one of those in the December timeframe of 2011. And now actually have, I guess I can officially say, well over 90 microgrids across the United States, Japan, and India in terms of our microgrid deployments. And then we're also starting to do some pretty large scale deployments in South Korea.
Very impressive. And you've seen some significant growth recently, haven't you?
We have, Lisa. Look, it was really interesting. I was super excited about the product back in 2011, but the customer sentiment around reliability was very much like grid is good enough, et cetera. So we did some specialized deployments with data centers and typically manufacturing customers who had a really high sensitivity for both reliability and power quality. And that sentiment has dramatically changed over the last 2 years, given the wildfire situation in California, as well as some of the storms on the East Coast. So with that reliability being challenged for customers where they're now facing, potentially a multi-day outage situation, we're just seeing a much greater level of interest as well as speed of deployments. Well over 2/3 of the 90 microgrids that I've mentioned have been deployed in the last 2 years, and that ramp is accelerating significantly.
Can we talk a little bit about technology changes, or more specifically, changes in fuel? Because I understand that Bloom is making some significant changes in that regard that could have an effect on emissions.
Changes in the platform itself, where we're getting the energy density to be greater so that we can deploy more systems in less space and be more efficient. As we get more efficient, we're reducing greenhouse gases. But there is, the challenge of getting to zero carbon, and that has been mandated both at the state level, and then even in terms of international objectives, et cetera. And at Bloom, we've always had this objective of clean, reliable, and affordable power for everyone in the world. And part of that clean is having the flexibility to use renewable fuels. So as of today, we do utilize biogas at a number of our sites, so that becomes zero carbon. And we are looking at hydrogen as an example of a fuel that we can take. So the really cool part about the fuel cell is that it actually converts the methane from natural gas into hydrogen on the anode side of the fuel cell before the reaction happens. So we can actually take hydrogen today into our system. So as natural gas companies start to blend in hydrogen from excess renewable generation, for example, into the natural gas infrastructure, our systems will be able to handle that seamlessly. So we're doing both a combination of our systems today that can handle a blend of hydrogen with natural gas, as well as we're actually going to be deploying 100% hydrogen-based system very soon. And we've actually announced this already in South Korea. And we expect to then have a portfolio of products that actually can, utilize hydrogen as it becomes available, to produce 100% renewable power. Now, what's exciting about that is that you get the benefit of zero carbon, but for the first time, you're going to get the benefit of zero carbon in a 24/7 resource, right? Solar is zero carbon, but there's a challenge of intermittency and space requirements. So it needs to be combined with energy storage in a lot of cases, and that's great. And we have microgrids deployed with solar and energy storage. But if we can take our part of the equation to be zero emissions as well, both from an air quality standpoint and greenhouse gas standpoint, that is going to be truly impactful. And we see that trend, accelerating very quickly in the next 5 years.
I've been hearing about some of your projects that are looking at sort of another issue that is really coming up more and more about energy, which is energy equity and social justice in energy. Can you talk a little bit about some of those projects that Bloom has done?
Absolutely. So this is an issue that we care deeply about. And the challenge always is the regulatory construct or the customer opportunity such that we can deploy systems in a manner that benefit the community. And I'm going to give you, I'll start with a very simple example, which is that if we're helping retail stores like Home Depot or grocery stores stay open during significant events here in California, that's helping them serve the community. So that's one benefit off the bat. But then let's talk about sort of microgrids for communities from a social equity standpoint. So one really interesting project that we did is a non-wires alternative project with Con Ed in the Brooklyn, Queens area, where we power lower income housing. It's a combination of fuel cells and energy storage at the site. And instead of building a new substation, the customer actually received a rebate from the utility. So their utility actually deferred a $1 billion upgrade to a substation and spent $400 million instead in rebates for demand response and distributed generation. So we were able to participate in that and structure a deal to serve low income housing to make their power more affordable and more resilient. So that's just a great example of how once the utilities, regulators, and technology providers work together, how we can make that happen. The other example is City of Hartford, where we have a microgrid deployed at their local library, grocery store, gas station, and a school combination. And most of the time it's just serving those just like any other customers. But during an emergency, that microgrid can stay on, make sure that there is, the gas station is powered and the emergency shelter at the library and school is powered for the community. So I think it's just a matter of stepping up with some creative structures and making those more the norm, such that these deployments can be done for municipalities, as well as to serve, projects like Marcus Garvey, which is a lower income housing development I mentioned in New York.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm sure too that a lot of people in the Northeast will very much appreciate those fuel cell microgrids at the Stop and Shops that you're putting in during storms and whatnot. We don't always think of stores as critical facilities, but they certainly are in those kind of situations. So thank you so much. This has been a really interesting interview. I really appreciate your time. And I hope you enjoy the rest of Microgrid 2020 Global. Thank you.
Thank you.